So let's talk about some shapes. In geometry, we have, so geometry studies shapes, and or at least that's part of geometry. In Minecraft, we place cube blocks, right? And placing those cube blocks or removing those cube blocks is like a pretty core function of the game, right? But um, the question is, what shapes can we create with these cube blocks? Now, there are some other blocks that have different shapes that we could leverage. And because I'm not as I'm not an expert in Minecraft, I'm going to stick to just the default block size. Okay. Now we have like stairs that can increase the roundness. There are different techniques that you can apply to have different effects. What I'm trying to do is step back a little bit, and we're going to show what we can do with square blocks. Okay. So here I have this cube. Okay. And because Minecraft is the default is cubes, we can build some pretty cube-like shapes, right? Here's a cube. We can build a bigger cube. We can build, this is called a rectangular prism or a cuboid. Okay. And then notice when I make everything the same length, we got to add another row on top. It's just kind of, it's scaling the cube up, right? So we could have some interesting fun, and we could make it seem like we're really small by creating a 3x3 set of cubes. If we placed everything in 3x3, this is just going to look like a smaller version of Minecraft, right? Because what we're doing is we're just scaling up a single block. So if I get rid of some of these smaller plants, it's going to be kind of hard to tell. Looks like maybe I'm like really zoomed in to a single block or something, right? So again, it looks like a bigger like these blocks are bigger in the surrounding area, which is just kind of an interesting thing that you can do, right? So that's with cubes, and we could definitely explore cubes a bit more. You could scale up to any size. Just you got to remember that you're multiplying length, width, and height. So you gotta make it a 3D shape in order for things to work out, right? And actually look like blocks from far away. But basically what we did here is we just took the individual objects and we scaled them up a little bit. And there's this grass block here, which is kind of, it's really clear that that's out of place, right? It almost looks like a bug or something. But you get the general idea with this, and we could continue that. I want to switch gears a little bit, and I want to talk a little bit more about other shapes that we can do. So let's explore the idea of triangles. If I go 5 that way, and 0.5 this way, how much does this look like or resemble a triangle? Well, not very much, right? It looks triangular, but I have to zoom out pretty far before those jaggedy lines start to disappear. It starts looking more like a triangle when I'm up this high, but if I come back down, it's clear that it's not really a triangle, and we can keep adding more. And technically, the larger we make this, the more believable this triangular shape is going to be. We can also build it on its side and then do we could make the triangle this way instead. This is what it looks like right now. And again, we have to go pretty far away before it starts like looking like an actual triangle. But what we could do is we could come in and add these stairs to kind of make it a little more gradual. And that's going to mean that means that we don't have to go back as far. So it's already starting to resemble a triangle. And then if we just keep going back, from back here, it looks it's a pretty convincing triangle, right? And again, if we kept going back, we'd see, like, basically it would get more and more refined. So in building triangles, to get smooth lines, you're going to want to build vertically like this. So you can use stairs. Or you're going to want to use like the half slabs. What are those called? Let's see here. Yeah, the slabs. So with slabs, but there's no vertical orientation, so you're gonna have they only rest horizontally, which means like this is more gradual, right? And actually we can make a different kind of triangle with this more gradual slope, right? This slope is much more gradual than the one behind it. So the triangle is going to look a little bit different. It almost looks like it's more like a 60-30 triangle instead of a 45-45-90 triangle, a 60-30-90, stuff like that. So we can build the thing I'm trying to point out here is that we can build triangles using different methods, right? These triangular shapes, the bigger the better. So if you're going for pixel accuracy, you're going to want to make it really big. And some creators do that with like images and things. They'll actually create the image and then zoom out, right? And you see eventually like everything comes into focus and you realize that it's a really cool picture. But anyways, that's triangles. To build a pyramid, right? Every level of the pyramid is just smaller than the outer levels. So let me come over here. We'll build a pyramid real quick. Whoops, not with that one. Let's do a square, a cube. There we go. There's a pyramid. So basically, for a pyramid, the one on the inside is going to be one less than the number you have on the outside. So as we go up higher, you're going to go one less. And then if you want a top one, you want to make sure that you build. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4. You want to make sure you build an odd number out. Let me show you what I mean. So you see how when we cut this in half, there's this block that's directly in the middle. So we got 2 on that side and 2 on this side. That's what allows us to place a block in the center. Because as we continue to build out, and if we were to remove the centerpiece, you see how we get this cross section here? We get that cross section in the center. That's what allows us to place that block on top. So we can go ahead and fill that in and then just keep going. There we go. We got an even bigger pyramid. So you could, again, to make the edges more gradual, you would just want to make a bigger pyramid, like a really massive pyramid, or use stairs to fill in the sides, right? There we go. Check that out. We could probably use like a fence post instead to make that a little more believable. Yeah, it gives it's an interesting look. That's how you'd go about making a pyramid. All right, let's go ahead and talk about circles. Now, circles, all of the exterior points of the circle are the same distance away. So, in a sense, this is kind of a circle. But if I zoom out, it's never really going to look like a circle. And that's mainly because of the ratio of everything. We need to make it bigger before it'll actually start looking like a circle. We could also build this way. And then add these stairs. See how that looks a bit more circular? it'd be nice if we could add some stairs in the center here, right? So let's make it a little bit bigger. We'll go 2 wide this time. Yeah, that didn't really help at all, did it? We could probably go a little bit bigger than that. I think if we added, yeah, if we had 3 on the edge here, I think that would probably work. Let's go a little bit bigger. Let's go 3 wide this time. And this one needs to be up here, maybe. Yeah, that'll probably do it. Let's see here. This is 1, 2, 3 away, right? Yeah, that's fairly circular. Maybe add this here and another one up here. That makes it a little more believable, maybe. So I actually think possibly more believable is a circle. I just do a square. So the definition of circles, all the exterior points are equidistant, and these points are definitely equidistant, but these ones need to move up, and they're almost like partially up, right? So it's almost like we go like this slab here, and then it's definitely more, it's looking closer. Yeah, I think we're getting there. A circle. I think we did it. That's as close as we're probably gonna get. Um, so circles are a little bit complicated, right? Because you gotta, because there's no way to get that block the right distance away. Like these blocks should technically, like this should be out just a little bit more all the way around the thing, right? So if we made it really big, we could probably get close, but it would require a really big looking circle, right? And so this is probably as good as we're going to get. There's probably some other tricks. I know there are a lot of Minecraft artists that have different blocks that they use to get that rounding effect. So you could spend some time looking online to search for some of those ideas to get that rounding. But I'm going to call this good. It's not perfect, but it's close. It's got a round kind of circular feeling to it, right? It's definitely better than my first few attempts. The biggest thing to note for circles in like a square environment like this, it's generally better the bigger the circle is. So if you can make the circle really big, start with cubes, went to triangles, pyramids, circles. So I guess if we were to make this into a sphere, basically it's doing this exact same stuff, just kind of rotate it around. So there's no way to place these stairs on the side, at least not that I'm aware of. So I don't know if a sphere, a believable sphere, is doable in Minecraft. We could do like a diamond shape though. A diamond could be pretty cool. And again, if we made it really big, I'm talking like 500 blocks wide, right? So the radius is 500 blocks, which means the diameter is 1,000 blocks. Then we could probably pull off some pretty convincing sphere. We could probably pull off a pretty convincing sphere. I'm not going to take the time to go that deep though, which means I'm kind of limited. Because really, so this diamond shape, we could pull this into 3 dimensions by just going out this way. Oops. And then in the back, we just go this way. Minecraft lends itself well to like pixel art and things like that. If you have wool, wool can be really helpful in creating pixel art, mainly because you can color it really well. There's a lot of various colors that you can grab, and you can just work with those individual colors. So because of all the variation of colors, you have a few more options, and then there's a gradient. You can get somewhat of a gradient in there as well, right? And that could be really helpful. But again, if you want it realistic, if you want it to look realistic or look like the shape that you're trying to create, big, make it really big, like thousands of blocks big. And then you're going to get close, right? So here are just some primitive shapes, spheres, I guess not spheres, but some 3D shapes, 2D shapes that we created using Minecraft. All of these, the area tends to be how many blocks to use and the volume. So if you calculate the volume or the area, that's how many blocks you're going to want to use. But keep in mind that area of a circle, because we run into this pixelation issue, right? You're going to run into a similar kind of setback. You're going to have a similar kind of issue. And then, of course, scaling, you just multiply everything by however much you want to scale it, and then you can scale up or down. Keeping in mind, of course, that the smallest you can go is a single block, and that single block is a cube, and there's no way for you to change that shape without some kind of either mod or some kind of coding. And for most of us, that side of Minecraft isn't exposed, and so yeah, that's how we can create some basic shapes in Minecraft.